Okay then, box check. List of things to talk about, check. Yep, check. Okay, let's get right into this. Okay, so today we're talking about gender identity, and the first thing I'm going to need you to do is stop thinking about sex and gender as the same thing. They're two different things, like completely different things. Sex is the classification of someone who is male or female. At birth, infants are assigned a sex, usually based on the appearance of external anatomy. Gender is a person's internal belief held sense by their gender. Gender also doesn't only fit into categories of male and female. It can be several other things, as you'll see in a minute. We're going to get right into those things now. And also, I'm going to need you guys to stop thinking that there's only two genders, because 21st century guys, wake up. Okay, so the first term we're going to start with is the one that most people don't even know they are. This is cisgender, and it pretty much just means like well, here it is, a term used by someone to describe people who are not transgender. Cis is the Latin prefix meaning on the same side as, and is therefore an antonym of trans. A more widely understood way to describe people who are not transgender is simply to say non-transgender people. So these are people who identify as the gender or sex they were given at birth. Okay, so now we're going to the opposite side of the spectrum with transgender. Transgender, an umbrella term for people whose gender identify and or gender expression differs from what is typically associated with the sex they were assigned at birth. People under the transgender umbrella may describe themselves using one or more of a wide variety of terms, including transgender. Some of those terms are defined in later things. Use the description term preferred by the person, because that's just like what you should do. Many transgender people are prescribed hormones by their doctors to bring their bodies into alignment and other gender identity. Some undergo surgery as well, but not all transgender people can or will take those steps, and a transgender identity is not dependent upon the physical appearance or medical procedures. So like transgender is just like what you feel, like the opposite. So yeah, let's move on. Okay, so let's move on to the one that I partially identify as currently, non-binary. A term used by some people who experience their gender identity and or gender expression as falling outside the categories of man or woman. They may define their genders as falling somewhere in between man and woman, or they may define it as a wholly different thing from those terms. The term is not a synonym for transgender or transsexual, and should only be used if someone self-identifies as non-binary. Non-binary is sometimes referred to as NB or NB. Same thing, but you can spell it differently. Reading articles is fun. So yeah, I decided this about like 2 months ago. I'm kind of new to this whole thing because I actually just started researching it. And yeah, let's move on to the next one on the list. Okay, so the idea of this one's pretty basic. Agender. An agender person does not identify with any gender, or doesn't follow expressions of gender in any way. They may, if they choose to, sometimes, but usually they won't. That's pretty much all there is on this one. Okay, so now we're going to move on to bigender. Someone who identifies as bigender, and they identify with two distinct genders, such as man or woman, or woman androgyny. Bigender people don't necessarily identify with each gender 50% of the time, and unlike gender fluid people, they don't exist on a spectrum either. Okay, so now we're moving on to gender fluid. Gender fluidity, someone for whom the gender identity and precision is a spectrum. A gender fluid person doesn't confine themselves to one gender or even a few. Instead, they may fluctuate between presenting as feminine, masculine, neither, or both. Also, pangender, a non-binary gender identity, referring to people who experience all gender identities either simultaneously or over time. Okay, so third gender. A term used in some cultures to describe someone who doesn't identify as a man or woman. Third sex is sometimes also used to talk about intersex people. Third gender can also mean many different things to people who use the term as a way to break the gender binary. I find it cool that there's like a third one that you can like go to if you don't like both, because all of the others seem to be like revolving around those two main ones. So I think it's kind of cool that you choose a separate thing. I like that. Okay, so now we're moving on to demigirl and demiboy. I'm not using the main term just because, I'm also describing these both in the same one because they're pretty much similar. Demigirl is when someone feels partially feminine, but they do not identify as female. Same goes for demiboy. They feel partially masculine, but not fully male, which I identify as demigirl. So, yeah, that's pretty much how that works. It's pretty interesting. You guys should actually look at these. They're pretty cool. Maybe I'll leave a link in the description to the one I'm looking at right now because there's a lot of things on here that you could really find out that are pretty cool. We have two more on the list, and so yeah, let's get going. Next up is intergender, someone who experiences their gender as in between other genders, such as someone whose gender falls between being a man or a woman. Like in between. That's cool. Okay, this is the end of the video, but I realize there are still more out there, so if you didn't see yours and you want me to say something about it, leave something down below so I know. Also follow me on Instagram at Seconds to Sunrise. There's little periods between each of those words and no spaces, so that's kind of easy to get there. If you didn't see yours, let me know, either here or on Instagram, and I'll make a part 2 if I get enough of these. Like, part 2, guys. You want this? Good, then click that subscribe button, ask for more, and I'll see you guys then. Also, we got a box to open, so let's get to that. Okay, let's just talk, guys. Let's just talk, opening a box. Okay. We got photos. These are my grandparents' dogs, so that's cool. Sophie and Wilson. Yeah, that's great. Thanks for joining us on the show. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this video. I just want to say you guys are great. We got our season 1 poster in the making, so I'm going to draw something new every now and then on it. So yeah, if you guys like this and you like what you see so far, just leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below if you want to see more. Tell me what you want me to talk about because I'll probably get to you. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.